Hello, everyone. Welcome to Good Film Hunting, a podcast about an average couple who are on the hunt for some good movies. In today's world, we are consuming more media than ever, perhaps more passively than ever. But we believe that by documenting and discussing the media we intake, how and what we intake will change for the better. It is important that we don't just become another consumer, but a participant, seeking to engage with the media we consume, so that we can see how our view of the world affects how we perceive it, and how it affects how we perceive the world. In this podcast, we are not only on the hunt for some good movies, but on the hunt for a good discussion. So, lean in, participate, and enjoy. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Good Film Hunting. James Scott here as always, and right beside me is my lovely wife, Savannah. Say hi to the wonderful audience.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, wonderful audience.
I'm sure they say hi back. They're very excited to hear you. You are their biggest fan.
I'm their biggest
You
fan?
are the biggest fan, yeah.
I am.
You are.
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
Feels good. I didn't
good?
know that I was their biggest fan.
Well, now you know.
I'm glad that they all have a big fan. That makes me feel good for them.
That's good. So for this evening, we are talking about War for the Planet of the Apes. How exciting. Very fun. If you're listening into this episode for the first time, I'm going to give a brief breakdown of how the episode structure usually works before we delve in. This will be a spoiler-filled conversation from beginning to end. We'll start lighter on the spoilers and they get a bit heavier as we delve more into specific aspects of the film. But to start, I'll list some facts out for Savannah that she may or may not know about the movie. We'll give our general thoughts and opinions on the movie, favorite moment of the movie. Then we'll go through our rating system where we have 4 categories that we'll rate on a scale of 1 to 5. We'll share our overall rating, our recommendation, whether we do recommend it or don't recommend it. And then we will call it a night over here until we get to watch our next movie. Which is who knows when, really.
It's true.
It's true. But before we delve into that, Savannah, how are you doing? Give the audience an update as to what's going on these days.
Doing pretty good. Hanging in there.
Hanging in there?
I have almost 2 weeks to go until I'm ready to have a baby.
Crazy.
Or roughly 2 weeks.
Roughly 2
Who
weeks.
knows?
How does that make you feel?
Sore.
Sore?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Good though.
tired.
Excited. I'm looking at the baby stuff we have across from us right now, and it's making me excited.
It's piling up.
Yeah.
Too much baby stuff, not enough space.
It's true. But I'm doing pretty well overall.
Well, that's good. That's good. All right. So you ready for some facts about War for the Planet of the Apes?
I am.
You ready? Mm-hmm. Did you just read them all off my screen?
No.
Okay.
I can't see them that well from here. I won't
Can't
look.
see them that well. All right. So this film was released July 10th, 2017.
What were you doing in the summer of 2017?
What was I doing the summer of 2017? I guess it was 15 then. I think I was mowing lawns a lot at that point. I was vibing, I was doing some school, helping out in our church community a lot. Vague, I don't really remember a whole lot. I don't remember much of my childhood. It's very fuzzy. What were you doing in the summer of 2017?
I was raising rabbits a lot.
What?
I got a lot of rabbits.
Yeah, that's more than I ever did.
I know lots of chickens.
I guess I had parakeets then. Yeah, I guess I had parakeets at that point.
Yeah.
Not rabbits.
I
but
was definitely at the height of my rabbit producing era
That's fine.
at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was good times.
Good
How old
times?
was I? 17 also?
You weren't 17.
I mean, not 17,
You
15.
were 15.
15.
Yeah, yep. Yep.
Good.
Just turned 15.
Listening to a lot of country music.
Oh, no.
And living my best life.
There
All
you
my
go.
friends were on the internet.
Mm,
We chatted a lot,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Once again, this was distributed by 20th Century Fox. It has a runtime of 140 minutes, which makes it 10 minutes longer than last week's movie, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. It has a budget of, you ready for this? Mm-hmm. 150 million.
Wow.
Which is 20 million less than last week's movie.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting, right? Because it's a bigger scale movie, right?
Million. Can you believe that? Even 1 million is a lot of money.
It's true. It is. But the reason they were able to save 20 million on this one, even though it was bigger in scope, was that they had a better idea of what they actually were doing in terms of plot and special effects. They just became very efficient at it at this point, so they were able to save money. Whereas they were still kind of figuring it out, the last one movie.
Yeah.
It has had a box office of 490.7 million, so not nearly as good as last week's, but pretty decent.
I wonder why it didn't do as well.
Well, I'll go into my theory and what people seem to say about it in just a bit.
Okay.
Once again, it was directed by Matt Reeves, who, as we know, did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and The Batman. Once again, it was written by Mark Baumbach, and Matt Reeves was much more involved in the writing this time. They actually had the entire script written before they began shooting this particular movie. So for Dawn, they were still kind of figuring it out as they went.
Okay.
Which sometimes that works out, and sometimes it doesn't work out so well. Once again, music was done by Michael Giacchino. It stars Andy Serkis as Caesar. Stars. Sorry, my tongue is slipping this
Don't
evening.
starve anyone.
It stars Steve Shawn as a bad ape. He does a lot of comedic roles. The two I recognize I guess we would have seen him in would be Stuart Little and Chicken Little.
Huh.
Two Littles.
Who did he play in those?
I didn't go that far.
Oh, okay. Stuart Little and Chicken Little. He's made some advancements in his career since then.
I guess so. It also stars Woody Harrelson as the Colonel. We've seen him as Haymitch in The Hunger Games. It's got Gabriel Chavarria, something like that, as Preacher. I did not recognize anything he's been in. And it's got Amish Miller as a Nova. I also didn't recognize anything she's been in. So these movies, for the most part, seem to have very obscure actors, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. Guess you don't need big movie stars to make a good movie. Although Woody Harrelson's a pretty big movie star.
And he was in The Hunger Games?
Yeah.
What was first, this or The Hunger Games?
The Hunger Games.
Interesting. I guess, yeah, I can see that. He seemed a little more edgy in this movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Much more edgy and less drunk.
Yes. So for the production of this one, the sequel to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was announced in 2014. Matt Reeves and Mark Baumbach wanted more time to prepare for this film because originally they proposed the release date in 2016, but they wanted a lot more time to be able to focus on writing the script. And Matt Reeves drew a lot of inspiration from a lot of movies for this one. I looked at the list and it's kind of crazy how many movies he drew inspiration from. One of them was obviously The Great Escape, or The Great Escape.
The Great Escape.
He also drew a lot of inspiration from biblical movies like Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments. He wanted it to be a film that had biblical proportions because he wanted Caesar to become like the legendary and mythical figure for the apes going forward.
Like the savior.
Yeah, yep.
Interesting.
This was the first motion capture film done in the snow.
In the world?
Yeah.
In the whole world?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. And then the film did not get super high ratings from audiences. And people speculate this primarily has to do with the title and the trailers being misleading for the type of film this was. Because if you watch the trailers, it sets it up to be a very big action movie. And the title
I remember you saying that.
And the title even suggests it's a very big action movie. If you watch this, it's not a very big action movie, all things
There's not
considered.
really a war. There's like 5 minutes of war sequence.
There's some battles, and it's kind of a war because we're seeing the consequences of it, but it's much more of a drama. And so that probably just threw people off. They're like, that's not what I wanted out of this.
Drama for the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. I don't know if that worked.
It should have been called Prison Break for the Planet of the Apes.
That could have worked. So I've got some fun facts about this one. I looked up on IMDb. So there's a shot of Bad Ape from behind in a big hooded winter coat. And that's the only actual shot of Steve Zahn appearing on screen without motion capture gear. So that's an actual person.
Yeah, he looks very human-like
Did
in
he?
the coat, I think.
Okay. And then while promoting Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Andy Serkis was asked if the the 113 drug had also affected apes outside of Caesar's tribe, which led Matt Reeves and Mark Baumbach to take note of it, and eventually led to the introduction of Bad Ape in this film. So he was supposed to be kind of the hint that there was more ape activity going on outside of Caesar's clan.
So, yeah, that's where I'm confused. Did he get affected by that, or was he just like that, naturally intelligent?
No, he was affected by
Okay.
it. He caught the virus, and presumably the other apes got it too, but he's the only one who survived from the zoo.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be kind of a world expansion
Okay.
choice at that point. The water dumped on Caesar at around 1 hour and 27 minutes of the movie was supposed to be warm, but the crew forgot to heat it up. So Caesar's shocked reaction is authentic.
Oh my word.
They were very apologetic afterward, but Andy Serkis said that it worked for the scene.
I know. He looked like he wanted to kill someone or die.
According to Matt Reeves, the name of the group of rebelling humans called Alpha and Omega is a reference to the atomic bombs that some mutant humans worshipped in one of the earlier Planet of the Apes movies. Interesting. Bad Ape's fall, where he slips and says, "I'm okay," was an actual thing. So that wasn't scripted.
The
They
guy
just
felt
kept
that's
it. That was
funny.
improvised.
Where he fell into the hole?
No, where he runs away and says, like, "Hold on," and then he like runs and slips and goes, "I'm okay."
Oh, okay.
And then all the baby apes, some of the baby apes were played by a lot of the actors' actual children.
That's funny.
I know.
Run around and pretend you're a monkey.
I know, exactly. Toby Cabell, who did Koba, expressed a lot of interest in being able to reprise his role or maybe even play a different character for this movie. And Matt Reeves and Mark Baumbach even toyed a lot with the idea of bringing Koba back for this one. They kind of made his death somewhat obscure.
They did, yeah.
And I guess even if you wait until the very end of the credits of Dawn, you can hear his breathing, which indicates that maybe he's still alive. I guess maybe, I don't know if he dies or whatever. But they ultimately decided to do away with that, wanting to be able to have Koba be more of a specter for Caesar, and Caesar having to wrestle with becoming like Koba.
That's probably a smarter option.
Probably. But people really wanted to bring him back.
Why?
Because he was an interesting character. I remember there being listening some interviews and people, I guess Matt Reeves wanting to possibly have him join the humans because at that point he hated Caesar more than the humans, which could have been interesting.
I could see Koba and the general the colonel being friends.
You could. But eventually, I mean, they replaced Koba with the gorilla character Red, who betrayed the apes.
Wait, which one? The original he betrayed?
No, the donkey.
Okay, not the albino one.
Not the albino
Winter.
one. No,
Okay.
no. All right, so those were my facts for you about this movie. What were your general thoughts on War for the Planet of the Apes?
General thoughts. I think the initial thought when I first watched this movie was, how could a movie be so bad vibes? That was my first thought when we watched it. Like, was it last year or the year before? I think it was 2022.
I guess it was 2022. It wasn't that long after we were married.
Yeah. I was like, wow, bad vibes.
Mm-hmm.
This time around, it was much less bad vibes than I remembered it being.
Okay.
I was a little less creeped out by it.
Okay.
For sure. I will say my eyes were opened more to some plot holes.
Mm-hmm.
And just general, almost not sloppy craftsmanship, but not as good as the second one.
Yeah.
And that might be because the second one just had less elements to work with. This one kind of had a lot of elements going on.
Yeah.
This movie is not poorly made by any means, but as compared to the second one. There were some things I feel like.
You felt like it took away from your enjoyment?
No, not quite, but it was a little bit like, that's a little cheesy.
Convenient, or that worked out well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so those were my general thoughts.
Okay. I remember seeing posters for this movie when it first came out. I'd never heard about the movies that came out prior to it, so this was kind of actually my first like hint at there was anything called Planet of the Apes in the world. I remember seeing the poster of Caesar with a rifle, on horseback. I remember thinking that was like the coolest thing ever, and I honestly still think it's probably one of the coolest things I've seen on screen. I don't know, just something about Caesar, like an ape with a rifle looking very serious on a horseback. Like that is
cool.
vibes. That is
That's
cool
what
vibes right there.
that's what the modern people would call BADASS.
Yes, I guess so. So I remember seeing that. I remember my dad mentioning one of his coworkers watched it and thought it was a horrible movie. So
Oh, that's funny.
there we go.
Well, there are two kinds of people in this world.
It's true.
There are people that watch this movie and think it's cool and like well done, and then there are people that think it's just too bad vibes, but to cloak their feelings, they just say it's a bad movie.
There you go. I guess so. But this was my third time seeing it. I remember when my family and I watched it for the first time, we were floored by this movie.
And did you watch it in order?
Yep.
Okay.
So we watched the It trilogy in order. Well, we started with the 1961, then we watched the trilogy. We watched this one. And we had no idea what we were getting into watching this one in particular. And so if you know how this movie goes, it's very depressing from beginning to end. It is not a happy movie. And it just rolls, the credits roll, and we're all sitting there like...
You know what? This is just a side note that you can cut out, but we were so sheltered in such different ways. Like, I feel like this is a kind of movie that my mom wouldn't like, my parents would have never had us watch. Versus you guys watching it.
Maybe.
Which is funny.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we were watching Titanic.
I know.
And How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Different time.
I know.
No, but we were very, like, it was one of those movies that are so emotional, and it's such a roller coaster that you get to the end and you just kind of have to sit there and process what you just watched. And I remember my sister Morgan going, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real. These aren't actual people. And I think a lot of that just had to do, we had no idea, once again, what the plot was going into it. But overall, I think it's a very good film. It's well done. Once again, very intense and dramatic. It's a very interesting character study. But like you said, it is unfortunately flawed and sloppy in some areas, especially as it progresses.
Yeah.
Which is...
I would say it starts out strong.
Yeah.
I would say once Caesar gets to the prison camp, that's when it starts going downhill.
Yeah, that's when it especially gets a little sloppy. For me, the unfortunate thing about this one is I feel like it's a little less watchable over time because, well, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes I've gotten more interested in and have been more engaged in. This one, because I think it is a little more of a linear story and it's kind of sloppy, I just feel like I haven't enjoyed it the next two times I've seen it as much as that first time. Like the first time I saw it, I enjoyed it a lot and would have called it my favorite of the series, whereas the last two times I'm like, it's good, but like it doesn't grip me nearly as much as it did that first time. However, I do think it has some of the best moments of the series, which we'll get into in writing, I think. All right. Did you have a favorite moment of the movie?
Well, as I've said before, it's
really
hard to
think
have
you'll
a
find
favorite
moments.
movie when a movie's pretty much depressing all the way through.
I mean, Bad Ape does have some comedic
Bad Ape,
beats.
I don't like him. He's so creepy.
He's so creepy. He's not creepy.
No, he's creepy.
Okay, you can think
He
that.
creeps me out.
You can think that.
No, I can't. I'm not saying across the board he's creepy for everyone, but he's definitely creepy for me.
There you go.
I mean, he's amusing, but like at the same time, he's creepy.
Gotcha.
Favorite part of the movie? I like all of Maurice's interactions with Nova. I think they're very wholesome and touching. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, but I do like Maurice and Nova's dynamic.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, we can talk about why I think Bad Ape is creepy, because surely there's someone else listening who feels that way.
Possibly.
I don't think I'm the only one.
You don't think you're the only one?
That thinks
I think of
Bad Ape
anyone
is creepy?
specifically?
No, I'm just thinking like surely there's someone else in the world that finds Bad Ape to be very off-putting.
Possibly. I mean, intelligent apes are off-putting. Period.
I know. I just find the way he looks, because he doesn't fit, in my opinion, with the vibe of the other apes. He just comes across as very cartoonish and almost animatronic.
Yeah.
Which is weird to me for some
He's
reason.
just kind of old, He's an old ape.
And
He's an old monkey.
And he's kind of bald.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is, no shade on him for being bald, but he's just a little weird.
Oh, sad. How sad. Do I have a favorite moment of this movie? I think my favorite moment this time watching it was probably Caesar's confrontation with Winter. And I'll get more into that in the writing.
I love when Caesar kills another ape.
No, that's not what I mean. Like, that, for me, that's a scene where I felt like I kind of wanted more of throughout the rest of the movie, and it kind of hinted back to Dawn, where Winter was not in the right, and he did something, but you understood him and you were sympathetic towards him, and you felt scared for him in the presence of Caesar.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you totally understand where Caesar's coming from, and it's this very tense, like, oh no,
yeah, because
where's it gonna go?
In a moment of weakness and fear, Winter's betrayal cost the life of multiple apes, specifically Caesar's wife and son, who we had a relationship with.
Yeah. So I think that's a very good and powerful scene, and I just wanted more of that throughout the movie. Okay, so now we're going into our rating system. We've got 4 categories that we'll rate on a scale of 1 to 5, which includes entertainment, quality, production quality specifically, the overall writing, and then content. This will be a much more spoiler-filled conversation, so if you are interested and have made it this far and don't want any more spoiled, go watch the movie. And if you're not interested, or you don't care, or you've seen the movie, stick around and you'll hear our thoughts in fragmented bits. Maybe we'll put the movie together like a jigsaw puzzle. We'll see.
There you go.
There you go. All right, so for overall entertainment, what would you give this on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm kind of leaning towards 4.
Yeah.
Because, 3 seems bad. I don't want to give it a 3. But it definitely wasn't a 5 like the second one.
Yeah.
Like Dawn.
Yeah.
I would say, like I said, it started out strong. And then it kind of lulled towards the end. I was kind of just waiting for it to end.
Yeah.
I felt like I think a big thing holding it back from being really gripping is the prison break situation. It was just so convenient.
Yeah.
And it was very sloppily done. It just wasn't very climactic.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of what kept it from being really wow.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I'd give it a 4. Like I said, it was a great first watch. I would have given it a 5 the first time I seen it, but now I feel like it's definitely taken a bit of a step back. I think the first 20 minutes of this movie are phenomenal. Almost as perfect as a movie could be, and I just wish it stayed at that. First 20 minutes of this are probably my favorite stretch of time in any of these 3 movies. From the moment...
Oh, really?
Yeah, from the opening credits to where Caesar rides off, leaving his clan behind to go find the colonel. I think that stretch is really, really strong. And then after that, there's some strong moments, but it kind of lulls. And then there's the prison break, and like you said, it just wasn't the most well done. Even though it wasn't bad, we have a higher standard for these, given last week's movie. Like I said, the plot is a lot more straightforward, and it's not as engaging. There's not as many characters with different dynamics that I've just come to appreciate more over time. It's just more about Caesar. So it's very interesting, but not nearly as engaging, I think.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. I feel like more of my comments have to go into writing. So.
Okay. What would you get for production quality?
I think I'd give it a 5. Like the second one. It is really well done. I can't think of many flaws. Like the set design and everything is really cool. I would say this time it's a little less believable that they're in California.
Really?
Yeah, because like especially the waterfalls situation where they're like living, it looks very tropical.
Oh, do you think
And
so?
like maybe not tropical, but
I was getting like Yosemite vibes from that.
yeah, I've never been to Yosemite.
Well,
so.
it's California. So.
Yeah, but other it's not really like a complaint. I don't really care. It's not like it really matters what state they're in.
It's true.
But yeah, I thought the set design was pretty good. I thought maybe the prison set design was a little less zesty. But the whole sequence of the movie is just not the most zesty. But yeah, I think they did a good job.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's good.
They did a good job.
They did a good job. Yeah, I'd agree. Production, I'd easily give it a 5. I think the first thing we have to comment on, which automatically gives it a 5 in and of itself, was some of those shots of Maurice, as we mentioned,
Crisp.
were like, they looked more real than a real ape.
It's true, they were really good.
They were like that scene where he approaches Nova for the first time, and it's just a close-up. It's like, I'm looking at an actual creature right now.
Except if you were to look at the face of an orangutan, Maurice obviously has much more intelligence and soul.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
But like, yes, it was very realistic.
Yeah, it was very impressive. Like even I think about the new Avatar movie. I guess Avatar: The Way of Water, which was very impressive digitally, but I don't know, just because I feel like they're aliens, blue aliens. There's a little bit of a disconnect because
It's hard
they're
to respect
cartoony.
them.
Whereas like an orangutan, which we have reference for, I don't know, something about that just stands out to me as being much more impressive.
I think that's my gripe with Bad Ape. Back to Bad Ape. You look at Maurice and you're like, wow, that is an orangutan. You look at Bad Ape and you're like, did he escape from the animation department and jump into the movie before he was like fully done? Because he looks kind of weird, like not like a real ape. Yeah. Caesar looks like a real ape. Maybe a little more intense and grumpy.
A little more
intense.
His
ears stick out a little less far than a typical chimp, but
as intelligence grows, their ears shrink.
Flatten. Yes.
I thought the acting in this was very good. I feel like you can almost see Andy Serkis in this one. Like, especially the moments where he's, like, really emotional. I feel like you definitely almost see him through Caesar, which is really interesting. Like, man, like, I'm watching this CG character be emotional, but, like, I can't imagine watching, like, an Andy Serkis himself acting like this.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to think
there were
about.
a couple moments where I felt like I saw him. It's a little harder for me to see him than it is for you, but I did see him a couple times. I was like, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. I thought the music in this was really good. I thought the themes were fun. I know you commented on one of the themes, like, oh, is this what was it? Reckless Love playing?
Oh, yes.
Do you feel like you were able to recognize them anymore this time?
Yeah, I noticed, of course, there was that specific song that played whenever Nova was around. That was the biggest thing that stood out to me. Kind of an eerie, haunting tune.
Yeah. And then there was the sad music. There were some moments of the music towards the end of the movie, which I don't know if you probably didn't pick up on it, that were bringing back themes from the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, or specifically just we're going to the Apes village as Caesar was entering death.
It was a more epic sound.
Yeah. I thought that was well done and very composed very well. Like, I was listening it to the other day and was still feeling things like, oh, they did such a good job of that. Production quality gripe is, I feel like and this is a problem for all three movies, the ape number consistency is all over the
Yes,
place.
I agree.
So how many died? And is it realistic that there should be this many to begin with, considering it's just this clan of apes? And where are all the gorillas? Did the gorillas suddenly disappear? I don't know.
I know. I feel like we didn't really see a lot of like whatever Rocket is. Is he a gibbon? What
No,
is he?
he's a chimp.
Why does he look so weird? He doesn't.
Well, he's just more distinct.
different
They're trying to make
variety.
him more distinct looking, and I think they're basing him off the actor too.
Sorry, actor.
No, he looks fine as an actor. Looks like a normal person.
Okay. Really? I thought he looks like a different breed of ape.
No, he's a chimp. Koba actually was a bonobo, which are similar. But the irony is that bonobos are actually more docile than chimps. So it's ironic that he was the villain.
Yeah. That is interesting. But yeah, no, I agree. It seems like 1 minute there's like 15 adult apes and like some kids. And then the next minute you see like 500 pilgrimaging across the lands. And you're like, where did these guys come from?
Yeah.
Obviously-
Are they just hiding and waiting? Or?
Obviously, logic can say that they reproduced. However, we all know, at least all fans of chimps know, or apes know,
All fans of chimps.
all ape fans know that apes reproduce at a very slow rate.
It's true.
Like humans, almost, except probably slower.
Maybe not slower. I don't know.
No, I feel like they only have them, I mean, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like they only have them like every 3 years or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
So, it's not like they're reproducing like rabbits and populating the
That's
earth like
true.
that.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just a problem. I feel like that's been the case for all the movies. So it's not unique to this one. It's just like, whatever. Okay.
Yeah, and then, because how many varieties are there? There's chimps. Mm-hmm. There's orangutans, but only like a couple, like 5, I guess.
Only a few.
And then there's the gorillas, which we saw a lot of,
And the first
but like
two,
all of them
but
went rogue and became bad, I guess.
I guess so, yeah. Except for
Is
Buck,
that
but
all?
he died.
Are those the only 3?
Yeah, then there's Koba as the bonobo, but he's the only noticeable one.
Interesting.
Yeah. Gibbons haven't been introduced for whatever reason.
Okay, for some reason I thought Rocket was a gibbon.
No, gibbons are actually very small.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yep. One more comment about production I want to mention is I thought they made Caesar look very exhausted and old
Careworn.
and careworn. Between the last movie and this one, like, this guy has seen some stuff. He's aged 10 years and it's only been 2 years.
Yeah.
Like him walk, I remember the first time watching it and like seeing him on screen for the first time and like he's gray instead of like the black. It's like, wow.
He almost gets grayer as this movie progresses.
I know. It does. He's had a rough few years.
I know.
I bet you, yeah, I don't envy his place.
Me neither.
Oh well. All right, so moving on to writing. What would you give this for writing? A scale of 1 to 5.
I think I'd give it a 3.
Oh, okay.
Getting into mid territory.
Really? Okay, interesting.
I think, like you said, the first 20 minutes were really strong.
Mm-hmm.
They were really good. However, the first major plot hole. So I would have considered the bad guys finding them to be a plot hole as I was watching it, but then we find out that Winter ratted them out. So I don't know, I forgot about that. So I was like, how did they find them? They just picked a random waterfall to like jump into in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So that was my ignorance showing itself. But the first major plot hole, in my opinion, is the realism of Maurice, Rocket, and what's the gorilla's name? Luca, all leaving the herd, the group, the troop, to go after Caesar, to be like his band of merry men on his journey. When presumably they're all in high levels of command, they're all high on the chain of command, and are all kind of alpha males in the group. Like, it just seems unrealistic that all of them would have left the lesser apes to go after Caesar and be like, we're going with you. Whatever Samwise says to Frodo in Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
that just seemed unrealistic to me. It seemed, even if they weren't apes, if they were like a group of, like say, like, I don't know, a tribe of people, even, like, that just seems like something that they wouldn't do. They wouldn't, like, leave them unprotected like that. So, there goes that. Because who else would lead them? Because Caesar's son is dead at this point. We have no other glimpses of any sort of alpha character.
Yeah.
So it just seems weird to me.
Okay.
So I would consider that a plot hole.
Okay.
I think another... I'm just trying to go through it in my head. Another plot hole would definitely be... I think the two biggest ones are that one and then the prison break scene. Because it's just very... really no build-up, no tension. You are, of course, crossing your fingers and, like, cheering them on in your head, like, of them escaping because you have a soul.
It's true.
But it's not very convincing at all.
No, not really.
The
soldier's like, we can look right, left, we just can't look up or down.
I know, we can't notice these giant ape-sized holes appearing in the ground that we're about to step in. It was like... The convincing factor of their escape was similar to the convincing factor of the prison in The Great Escape. Like, you don't really care that much if they're still there because...
In The Great Escape?
Yeah, in The Great Escape, because it's such a chill, like, resort-like situation.
Yeah.
And in this one, it's almost similar as far as, like, yes, they're in terrible conditions, but the escape is so, like, unrealistic.
Gotcha.
It just was too convenient. Even the water crisis underground, seemed like it was going to lead somewhere. Or like, oh no, we can't get the babies because of this thing.
Yeah.
They were literally like, okay, well, we can just steal the keys from this guy and then walk over here. And you'd think that if, obviously, the colonel wants all these apes to be there so he can enslave them, you'd think that they would have a tighter guard on them rather than them just being like, okay, one guy, you can watch the apes, and then no one will come check on you or see if anything's okay. And also the apes were all, like, making noise and stuff, and it just seems really... especially since it is such an open compound. Like, it's literally just cages, and you can see everything, and it just was
They were all sleeping. The soldiers were sleeping.
Okay. Well. Anyway.
Anyway.
Those were my two biggest gripes.
Two biggest gripes. Okay. Well, what about the good things?
Oh.
I mean, you mentioned the first 20 minutes, but that's kind of what I already said, so.
I thought that the build-up to Caesar's son and wife being killed was pretty good. It was very unexpected, and it guts you, I think, pretty well, because you're like, what?
Especially because we know these characters, specifically his son.
Yeah, because we're like, oh, he's gonna, be there. He's, like, Caesar's right-hand man. So I think that's really well done. That makes you feel things for sure. It made me feel things. I thought them coming upon Nova was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
One could argue that she doesn't really matter that much to the story.
Yeah.
But, like, it was interesting, and we kind of got a glimpse of that disease.
Yeah.
And we're assuming that Nova... Which is weird, because we don't really see signs of her being particularly feral. But when we walk in to see her, the house is, like, shredded.
Yeah.
Because, like, I guess presumably she did it.
Perhaps, I don't know.
Unless, like, I don't know. I don't really have another explanation as to why that happened. Kind of weird that her dad / guardian didn't get it. Unless it had just happened.
Yeah. But
the blood was dry. When they got there.
Well, maybe it just hadn't taken effect on him yet. I don't know.
I did find it weird that she expressed no emotion whatsoever that he was dead.
I just like to think of it as maybe he wasn't a great guy. Maybe he kidnapped her. I don't know.
Maybe. It was just very odd.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, Luca put a flower in her hair, so what more could you ask for?
It's true. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I would say, generally, it's pretty good, otherwise. I found the Colonel to be pretty convincing, but not as convincing this time as the first time when I saw it. Like, the first time I was like, oh, he's super psychotic and weird and blah, blah, blah. And this time it was kind of just like, oh, he's just kind of a weird dude. He's kind of just... He has this feeling of, like, wanting to kill everyone that has this disease, which is understandable. Like, my logic brain is like, oh, yeah, why wouldn't you do that? Obviously. My worldview doesn't allow for that. But, like, I found him not quite as psychotic this time as I thought of the first time.
Okay.
But yeah, anyway, I'm just kind of rambling.
No, that's fine.
I would give it a 3.
Okay. I would give this a 4. To start with, being that I think Caesar's a very compelling character, and I think he has been a compelling character since Rise. And it's just very interesting to, like, think about where he was in Rise versus this one where, you know, in Rise he was the friendly house chimp who wore shirts and could sign. And in this one he's like a battle-worn hero who's cocking, you know, a rifle to go take revenge on a colonel who murdered his family. Like, that is quite the turn 180.
I'm so glad we didn't watch the first one this time, because that one's so, like, it makes me want to cry.
That's it?
Yeah, it's like the first time I watched it, because I'm a fan of an adorable animal turned domestic pet / human-like creature story. And it was just such a shot to the heart.
It's true. Caesar is just being Caesar.
An ape who wears shirts and signs like our child.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he is.
That's true. Caesar probably is potty trained.
It's true.
So I just think it's a very interesting place. I think Caesar, in the last movie, you know, having to deal with Koba, and in this one almost becoming Koba, like having to wrestle with that and going revenge, like just not being able to let go of his hate like Koba wasn't. I think that just puts him in a very interesting place, because it's kind of like the final test for him as to like how he's going to go down as the quote unquote savior in ape history, I guess. I do think. Yeah, I think he's just a very gripping character. What he's going through is very gripping. Like I said, and we keep emphasizing, the first 20 minutes was very good and very shocking. I think the only complaint I have for the first 20 minutes is they're trying to set up that the people in this one are the bad guys.
Yeah, you really feel that in this one. Because I feel like the first two are much more like, I'm more on Team Human.
Yeah. I just think maybe they almost overtly did that too much at the beginning of this one, because like in the back of the helmets are like those sketches like, you know, I hate apes. Apes are stupid. I want to kill all the apes kind of thing. I was like, all right, whatever.
This particular group of people weren't the most refined.
It's true. They were
a little like... I mean, the fact that they stood there and did their howling and hooting every single morning.
It's true.
To hype themselves up was a little telling.
It's true. And what were they hyping themselves up for? I have no idea.
Yeah, literally nothing. To like be mean to the apes.
I guess so. I guess that was their life's purpose at that point.
We're going to yell at some apes. We're going to make them move some rocks.
But that battle sequence, the reveal of like there being a couple apes on the people side was interesting. The apes, retaliating in force against the people was neat. Caesar coming in for the first time upon the wounded, and it being that long shot of all the apes just reacting to him was really good. Caesar having to confront the people, I guess Preacher, who they keep kind of toying up, maybe he'll become a good guy, except, he ends up shooting Caesar at the end. And being like, I'm not the ape who started this war. And him then later on going with having that talk with Maurice of like, we're still suffering from the consequences of not dealing with that when we could have dealt with it. And you can tell it's taking a toll on them.
How would Caesar have dealt with it before?
He probably, I don't know, I guess killed Koba? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Sooner?
Maybe. Or at least, confronted it more so. I'm not entirely sure. And then, the reuniting of the apes and his son, and it's just this happy scene, and there's the apes are happy together, and then a dark twist of fate, the colonel shows up and kills the family, and Caesar's enraged. And then, Caesar finds his little son all by himself.
Yeah,
and it's
okay,
really
that was my
sad.
favorite part of the movie
Was
because
it?
it made me cry.
Did it make you cry?
Yes.
It was very sad.
When he found his little baby son.
I think it's a really good shot and moment because Caesar's on edge and he hears the noise and he like whips around with his spear and like roars, and then it's his little son whimpering in the corner, and he breaks down. It's like, oh, this is so sad.
I can't watch things that involve small creatures right now.
You can't. It's too much for you.
It is too much.
And then to the moment where Caesar rides off on his own on the horse through the forest, leaving everyone behind. Like, it's all very, very well done. Like I mentioned, the winter scene where Caesar confronts Winter after betraying the apes. I just wish there was more dynamics like that because, like I mentioned, you feel more for Winter in that moment than you do Caesar. You're more afraid for Winter, even though he is... I mean, they're both in the wrong to an extent. But you just know, like, Caesar has the power to do something to Winter, and it's like, oh no. Winter's sorry. Can we forgive him, please? Just let him go.
I know. I thought that was kind of a stark situation because he does kill him.
Yeah, and he probably didn't really mean to so much as just kind of happened. Like he wasn't thinking about it. And
Well, he wasn't trying not to.
yeah.
Which is, I mean, again, I can understand. I would want to do that too. If someone was the cause of my spouse and my child dying.
It's true. This is true. I thought Luca's death was an interesting choice because it was so insignificant, and I think it's what the movie needed to get Caesar to really like kind of go over edge to like, I'm doing this by myself kind of thing, because it was so stupid and so tragic because of that. Maurice and Nova's scene together, the first one together, was very sweet, as we've mentioned. I think Nova wasn't necessary, but I think she kind of just brought in a little bit of a more relatable aspect to the apes. Like, she just brought that touch of, like, gentleness to everything.
She distracted Maurice, too.
True.
She kept him busy.
The Colonel versus Caesar scene where they're... I guess it's after the compound and Caesar's like, apes need food and water, and the Colonel's kind of giving a spiel. I thought it was a good scene for the most part. Some of the dialogue was okay. I thought Caesar stumbling onto the prison with all the apes for the first time was a really good scene. Seeing the apes up on the crosses or whatever it was. Like, very, very haunting scene.
Yeah.
And it just being, like, really spooky. I do think, like I said, this movie has some of the best moments, like emotionally striking moments in the series.
Yeah, that part was definitely very uncomfy in a lot of ways.
I think the apes ignoring Caesar when he's brought into the prison for the first time is a really powerful scene. Just like the way they've lost their respect for him. And just like, I don't really want to talk to you. You kind of left us. It just brings the weight of everything. All the bad decisions he's made.
It's true.
To the point.
Poor Caesar. He's trying to make the right decisions. I mean, the second one, he was definitely more... Or not the second one. This one, he was more motivated by his emotions.
That's true. He was a little more selfish in this one.
I mean, again, understandably.
Understandably so, but still selfish. I think Caesar and Nova's relationship was cute because it starts with, Caesar not wanting to be with Nova, and then progressing to Caesar letting Nova drink some water, to the point where Nova's helping Caesar drink water because he's helpless. Like, okay, that was a cute twist of the relationship.
It was, but also, again, another unrealistic...
Oh, for sure. Like,
her
her
waltzing
walking
into the prison.
Absolutely unrealistic. Like, no, you just don't do that.
I know, it's super weird. Like, that she wasn't even, like... It could be understandable, maybe, if she was, like, another soldier. Mm-hmm. But, like, she was a literal child.
It's true.
And there were no other children there.
It's true. Oh, well, it is what it is. Bad Ape being introduced, who obviously was the comic relief because this movie was dim and dark. I know you're not a fan of him. I think he's okay. He was also just kind of introduced as a possibility, like, of world expansion, which is interesting because, like, he's simultaneously a goofy character, but he's also like, when you stop and think about all the things he mentions, like, oh, you've had a very depressing life up to this point. I'm sorry. You've lost all your friends.
Yeah, I don't hate Bad Ape's character. Like, my main gripe with him is that he's just
He
creepy.
just looks goofy.
He's just weird and creepy to me. A really random interjection too about writing. Speaking of the Colonel, I thought it was a good twist of him getting the disease.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like Nova leaving her little ratty bunny or whatever that was with Caesar, and then the Colonel being like just grabbing it, and then I guess getting sick from it. And then that being his demise. That scene of him dying was very grisly.
I know. Like, you didn't see it happen, but, like, it built up to it.
Well, yeah, because, like, just seeing him there, like, in bed, presumably he was, like, drinking or something beforehand. Yeah. Was he drinking after he got? I don't know.
He probably realized he had it and started drinking because he was like, oh, despair.
Yeah, it was just a very grisly and haunting scene, for sure. Very uncomfortable to watch.
It was.
But you could see Caesar, I don't know if he was taking pity. It was like, I kind of got more of the vibe that he was like, oh, I see you're dying already of this thing that you hate and that you killed your son for, so I don't want to do this. I don't want to shoot you, which would kind of give you relief. I just want to watch you die.
So, like, that's more satisfying for him, or?
Yeah, that's almost the vibe I got. But then you could also look at, like, he was having mercy on him, too. But I guess with that disease, you don't necessarily die of it.
No.
So, it was almost like, I want to watch you suffer in this.
Really?
That was, yeah. I don't know if you got a different impression.
I got a little more of, like, maybe a pity scene, because Caesar still looked like he wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
For, like, a good 15 seconds of him just huffing and looking really angry.
Yeah.
And then, like, stopping. I just felt like that was a moment of him overcoming his hate and giving the Colonel a chance to make that decision for himself rather than Caesar being the one to make that. If he was going to kill himself, so be it. But Caesar wasn't going to be the one to make that call. That's the kind of the impression I got. Which makes him which is a redeeming, I like to think of it as a redeeming choice for him, as opposed to him being like,
Suffer.
Yeah, suffer.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could go both ways.
Perhaps. I think Caesar getting shot was a very shocking moment for the first time we watched this, because I didn't catch that he got shot when he went to throw the grenade. I just saw him slip, and I thought to myself, what? Did he just, like, slip in the ice or something? And then the reveal that there's, like, an arrow sticking out of his side. And the fact that it was the human he showed mercy to at the beginning who shot him. It's like, why do we do this to us?
I know. I found it interesting that Preacher, that was his name, right?
Yeah.
That his weapon of choice was, like, a crossbow. When they had, like, so much firepower.
That's true. It's silent. Which is what I think makes it so shocking when he is shot, because, like, you see him fall over, but it's hard to catch, but it's because it's a silent crossbow. It's not like a gunshot.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, he obviously was shot by a gun, so much as, what?
Yeah.
What did you think about the donkey gorilla? I guess they're called Donkey Kong in reference to, or they're called donkeys in reference to Donkey Kong.
What did I think about him?
What did you think about him as a character and, like, his turn at the end?
I thought it was good to see some humanity. Ape
manity.
I didn't really think much of his character.
Kurna.
But I did think it was good that he came to his senses and helped out.
Yeah. I do wish he'd put up more of a fight at the very end, though, rather than just getting his head blown up. Like, he saves Caesar, and then he's like, let me, hold these guys off.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. But he didn't. He just got shot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, whatever.
Okay, at least you helped Caesar for a second.
There you go. Redeeming moment before death. Some of the flaws do include, as we mentioned, the prison escape scene just being a mess and very convenient, and laziest soldiers on the planet, most convenient setup. It's like someone wanted them to escape almost.
I will say, though, when they're escaping and, like, a bunch of those apes get, like, shot down as they're running across, that was really
I
That was
know.
kind of depressing.
It's like, oh, come on. I do think this film is not as deep as the prior film, just because there's not the complexity of characters going on, rather than it just being Caesar himself. The whole base blowing up with Caesar's grenade strikes a lot of questions, because there were
Yeah.
missiles being launched at this base, and it didn't blow up. And all it took was Caesar flinging a single grenade into a leaking tank. Like,
For the
what?
whole thing. Yeah.
What? That's not how that works.
Yeah, I did have
logically.
questions. I was like, why is this one leaky tank connected to the entire base?
Yeah, and all it takes is a missile to blow up a single tank. Like, okay, whatever. Not well set up. The whole avalanche scene was fine. I get what they're trying to do with it narratively. It definitely is, like, almost out of place with the rest of the movie, I think.
Yeah.
They're trying to set up, like I said, the biblical proportion, like, the Red Sea kind of thing. Like, the thing that's going to go down ape history is the myth of, like, and Caesar brought down the avalanche on humanity and save us kind of thing. But it was very, like, the whole last 10 minutes of, the helicopters coming in with the missiles and the army of humans and the avalanche did feel almost out of place.
Yeah.
For the movie.
It was almost somewhat unsure, too. Well, I mean, I guess the Colonel kind of explained it, but, like, why all those people were coming.
Oh, yeah, because he was a madman.
It's true.
Like, he's crazy.
He went rogue.
He went rogue. We can't trust him. He's got bad intentions. What would you give this for content? Negative content?
Oh, sorry.
The scale. Sorry. You don't have to rate it just because I rated that. You can rate it differently. But if you want to rate it that, you can.
Well, I see that you've given it a 3, and I probably would agree.
Okay.
I would say it's a very grisly movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for children, I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
There's blood.
Definitely a lot more blood in this one.
There's just, blood, gore, or death. Just depressing vibes.
Yeah.
Heavy vibes.
Heavy vibes. Not. This is not a hopeful movie.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's somewhat hopeful at the end. However, I will
true.
say, this is kind of random, but I did not like the new place that they migrated to.
Oh, you don't?
No, it doesn't look very ape-friendly at all. Like, it looks like the desert.
Well, no. It was there. You could see the mountains and the trees in the background. Yeah. They were just trying to get us to a point that looked like the original film, I think.
That part kind of gave Sound of Music.
Oh, did it?
Remember when they escape from Austria and they get up there and wherever they were going?
Maybe. I don't remember that. I haven't seen it all the way through.
Well, they climb a mountain.
Okay.
And they're like free because they're like over the border or something.
Ah, I see.
Maybe that's one of the many movies that inspired this movie.
Perhaps.
But yeah, I would say 3. There's no language, obviously.
Yeah, not a lot.
Okay,
no.
sorry. There might be some.
There's
soldier
less.
language.
There's less in this one.
Yeah, but it's definitely.
You animals. That doesn't count.
It's definitely mostly rated a 3 for the bad vibes.
Yeah, it's just there's not a lot of relief in this one. Bad Ape is the comic relief, obviously, and there's the Maurice and Nova scenes, but it's like I said, from beginning to end, it's not a very hopeful film up until the very end. And even then, Caesar dies. Which, okay, speaking of writing, what did you think of that narratively?
I thought it was fine. I didn't really care.
Okay.
I wasn't like, no, Caesar. I was just kind of like, oh, good, I'm glad he died.
Oh, good, I'm glad he died.
Well, no, I'm glad he died there instead of at the other place.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little dramatic and weird that it was just Maurice there while he died. Like,
oh.
I don't know. It was just kind of a somewhat weird feeling scene, but
Was it?
It wasn't bad. It felt appropriate, and I'm glad that he had some rest from his labors.
It's true. He was very tired.
He was very tired and very probably just in pain. Unfortunately, he doesn't have eternity to look forward to.
It's true.
At least he's dead.
At least.
And he's not experiencing the pain on a daily basis.
It's true.
Although I just wish that he cared. Like, it seemed like he didn't care as much about his younger son as he should have.
Maybe.
Like, he didn't really care about. I mean, he's just like, take care of my son. But
It's been a rough couple years. His priorities are a little mixed up.
it's true.
I mean, I think it was a good choice in terms of solidifying him, right, as the savior character for the
Yeah.
apes, like just bringing him to an end. Like he brought us to the promised land, and he died. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have much to comment on it. Like it wasn't super emotional for me this time around. I do feel like it's an appropriate way to bring about his character because we essentially saw him from birth in the first one. So this was like a rare character that you do get to witness their life from birth to death. And Andy Serkis has commented on just being a very bizarre experience getting to play a character from birth to death. Like that's just not something you ever get to do.
Did he play baby?
No, but like, you know, the idea, right?
Yeah.
Seeing him on screen, it's just a very rare thing. So that was good. Yeah, back to content. I agree. 3, I think, is appropriate, just because not anything in it is too bad, so much as just the overall atmosphere of it. Like we said, is definitely not hopeful, and it's bleak and it's grim and it's emotionally distressing. And Caesar's in a very bad headspace. Never a moment that's nearly as terrifying as Koba showing up in the car besides Carver and Dawn.
That was a little creepy.
That was a little scary. But yeah, I would agree. All right, so what would you give this film for an overall rating on a scale of 1 to 5? And would you recommend it? Would you not recommend it?
I'm just learning some chimp facts.
Are you learning some chimp facts?
Yes. Hold on, can I share a chimp fact with you?
Okay, share chimp fact.
So, chimp fact, they're weaned, as far as reproduction goes, they're weaned at 4 to 5 years of age and may remain with their mother for 10 or more years.
Wow.
So, that would
For
explain...
30, if they only live 33 years... Whew.
I know. Well, so they reach reproductive age at 13. So, that actually would make sense that if there were a lot of young females, they probably wouldn't have, like, had a bunch of babies and made a huge population. Back to that. But anyway... Sorry. What would I rate this whole movie?
Yeah.
I would give it a... It's all going through my head right now.
All going through your head?
Yeah. I'm kind of wavering between 3.5 and 4.
Okay, well, go with your gut. What does your gut say?
I think I'll go with 3.5.
Okay.
Which seems like a far cry from my 5 rating of the second one. But I truly did enjoy that one better than this one. This one was just... It was almost too much.
Almost too much?
Yeah, but yet not enough.
Not enough. Oh, wow. What a paradox.
I know. So, yeah, I would say 3.5.
Okay.
Not a bad movie by any means, but
Yeah.
just not my fave.
Yeah. I'd give this a 4. I think, like we said, it's a very well done movie. There are a lot of really great moments in it. There are a lot of really great aspects about it. It just isn't as engaging, and it's not as well fleshed out. Or no, not as, certain aspects of it aren't as fleshed out, I guess, as the prior one. The character, there aren't a lot of compelling characters so much as just Caesar being the compelling character, which is fine. It's just that you can tell that they're trying to make you convinced with these other characters too, like the Colonel. And it's like, I don't know, he's kind of a psychopath.
And he's also somewhat of a shallow character.
Yeah, more one-dimensional. Like, he's bad. You can understand why he's psychotic, but it still doesn't take away from the fact he's psychotic.
Yeah.
Whereas Gary Oldman's character in the last one, where he wasn't really psychotic. Like, he was a little extreme, but, like, he was a good guy, and he made a very extreme choice at the end.
Yeah.
But it's not like we lost sympathy for him at any point. So, yeah, very interesting. All right. So that was our take on War for the Planet of the Apes. This might be our longest review yet.
I know, it's pretty long.
It's pretty lengthy. But that's good. That means we had a lot to say, a lot to talk about. But thank you all for stepping in and listening to our personal take on this movie. We hope you've enjoyed the conversation and hope you've been inspired to have some more conversations around the films you're watching. Maybe this one, maybe a different one. Let us know what you thought about this film in the comments. Let us know how we did on our ratings. And until next time, good film hunting.